I'm not concerned as much with just making sure my, is that working there? It is working, isn't it?
What?
That's working, I mean, the monitor is working.
What I mean is before you fiddled with some color.
Now I'm turning, never mind about that right now, okay? Now I'm recording, if you'll look in here and see what it says there, okay? Look inside the camera. See where it says record? Now I'm turning and shoot 'em. Get back over here. Stand in front of the photograph that I'm painting there.
He's a
Now, wait
negative.
just a minute, I got it.
You look so cute, Freddie.
Okay, now I got it. Now I got it, okay?
Isn't he cute?
Now you can do anything, you can make it.
Mommy's not so good, but Freddie is.
Now, he'll
Look,
see,
isn't he
he's
cute?
not unhappy with that, is he?
Do you see? He is so cute.
That's good color, I think, isn't it?
Oh, it's a little pink.
Think it's too pink?
There. What? No, now it's too purple. There. Oh, he's so cute, Freddie.
Now, you just let him go off, put him down the floor over there.
Here. Look. Is this your toy? Your toy. Are these Freddie's toys? Are these Freddie? See the ducky? See, Pac-Man has a toy. See it? Freddie, get it. Freddie, get it. Freddie, come.
He got it. He got his ducky and his toy.
Yes, Freddie. See, look, look, look. This is your toy. This is Freddie, get him. Freddie, get him. This is Freddie's toy. See? All Freddie's toys. They are. See?
Look at him. He was there. Did you see him?
Yeah. We've got another toy here. Another toy. Look, all of Freddie's toys. See them all? See them all? See all the toys? Look at them all. Look at all the toys. Look at all the toys. This is Freddie's. This is Freddie's. See the Chupa Chups? Chupa Chups? The Chupa Chups?
Ready?
Oh.
Is this your Chupa Chup?
You.
Is this here?
Oh, I know. Wait.
Show him. Show him the dinners. Is this your dinner? Is that your dinners? You gonna get it? Get it. Is that your dinner? Is it? Is that your dinners? Huh? Is it? Is that your dinners? Is that your dinners? Is it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Get your dinners. Ready, get it. Ready, get it. Get your dinners. You get it. Who says get his dinners? Yes. His dinners. Freddie got it. What a big boy. Yes, that's his kibbles and bits. Kibbles and bits. Lots of kibbles and bits. Get it. Get your dinners. You're going to open it. Gotta open it. Get it. You're going to open it all over Grammy's floor.
That's a big boy.
Yeah, that's Freddie, sit. That's a big boy. Doesn't like that one. No. Can you dance? Can you dance? Can you dance?
That's a big
Further away,
boy.
it's too close, I mean.
That's a big boy.
Got it. Doesn't wanna. Come. Can you dance? Can you dance? Yeah, dance. There. There. Got it.
What a big boy. Was it cute?
Yeah, do it again for the beginning on it now.
What a big
Just
boy.
remember where the
Got it.
camera is, though. You're behind the camera, and you're having to turn away from the camera. You want to be in front of the camera.
I thought of that already.
Yeah.
Sit. dinners? Freddie, 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 sit. Stay. Freddie, dance. Freddie, dance. Freddie, dance. Dance. That's a big boy.
Now let's move the sack so we don't have the sack in the picture at all. And then just have him do all these little things, and you try to stay out of the picture, but still sort of,
I won't do too much more because, you know, you won't,
so what I mean is, you stay out of the picture now. You get over here by me, okay?
Freddie, sit.
See how much you can do by hand, just by telling him.
Well, no, Mother, he's not accustomed. He has to do close to me. I mean, I can't do it at a distance. All I can do is sit and down. Ready, down.
Can you put his head down?
No, not yet. That's a good dog. That's a good boy. You know, he'll dance.
Just let him do everything he can do.
He'll dance and that sort of thing.
No, I meant putting him down, putting his head down, roll over, tired, you know.
Can you dance? Can you dance? That's a big boy dance. That's a big boy. Whoops. Freddie, sit. There. Got it. Got
Put
it.
him down.
Freddie,
Put
sit.
him down.
Freddie, down. Stay.
Stoop way down and walk underneath the lens.
Stay. I can't.
Just crawl under the lens.
What a good dog. What a good boy. What a big boy. Can you sit? Sit. 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 That's a good dog. Sit. Yeah, sit.
He's never done sitting down.
But sit. 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 Good boy. That's a good boy. That's a big
Now
dog.
let him stay at sit and you crawl back the other way so I can get his total face. Okay?
Stay. Stay.
Now it's on record.
But timing-wise, we don't know anything. Just go ahead and... That's good. Just 5 seconds. See, his head's right with that.
See, when you move over like that, Barbara, you're throwing enough of, you're taking away just enough of the light to make
Are you finished?
make it to soft.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Just have to trim that one down. There. Okay. That's a pretty house. Okay. That's all. Say friends, making friends or something. Okay. That looks good to me. There.
Not good.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
We can place him in two different places on this too.
Put him behind the pole, that's better, isn't it? No, short of his head. How's that? No? No. How's that? Do you like any of those? There, huh? Or not? Or that light's
Yeah.
not good on there, is it? Comes right down to him. Put him on the light spot. How's that?
It's fine.
Okay.
You got a light wash across the whole top of it now. Got a reflective light wash.
That's on the picture.
Well, don't keep you push your hand up much.
See, that's when we should have brought Freddie in.
Well, if you get an idea, we'll go
Okay.
ahead and put it on.
Alright, you want to stop it so I can change it?
Yeah.
we shoot, wait, hold on a sec, can we shoot up, just like you do in real life?
Right.
He's just watching you. And you can bring him all the way down there. There.
Just hold it still.
You can come in on it. Yeah, that's right.
Just now we took a photograph of that.
There he is. Okay. So we quit now?
Just a minute.
Enough on this one. Okay. That kind of works out better, doesn't it? Okay. That's Freddie. If I can put them out.
I know what.
This
Get
here,
your hands
where
down.
we should put it. Like that.
It's not focused too well.
Well, we don't really need it focused too well. Get the top letters on the top part there. Yeah, like here.
Move your hand, Barbara.
What's
Well,
the
I'm
matter?
I'm
showing you.
recording. Keep your hands down.
I don't want you to record yet. I'm not ready.
It is ready, and I am recording. This camera can't. You can't just keep playing with it. Can you read that on the on the monitor?
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't waste it. Don't record anymore because I don't. I just wanted to have a look up. Come up. Just to where you see a little bit of the white paper, the three papers, yes, like sort of like that. Where you see a bit of the red lettering. This red lettering. Can you see some of
Put
that?
your hand down.
Okay, something like that. That would be good. Just where we can. Animal. Just to see where if I put them together where you actually. Look. That's enough. I just wanted to have a look on the monitor. Here, I decided to join the exodus of the land of my forefathers cut.
You did say start.
With the American dollar enjoying excellent purchasing power in many countries throughout Europe, I decided to join the exodus to the land of my forefathers cut. Exactly to my recent forefathers, since they are English and I have to do a term of 6 months in quarantine pen before ever getting to erect and step I'm pretty sore. So as much as I would love to have sampled English cuisine, run through Hyde Park, an upstairs ride on those bright red buses, and perhaps run through Hyde Park and upstairs ride on the bright red buses, and perhaps even a visit to the Queen and her corgis. I must say that the continent holds more than enough excitement for this Maltese. After months of travel on green plane, train, action, cut. Cut. Did you cut? Cut. Adventures in new lands with wonderful parks, elevated train. Astronomical fun of train, international cuisine, and typical regional dishes. All the countries have a choice of doggy dinners, canned and dry, that make your mouth water. Cut. European owners
Gotta clear
takes.
right in the middle
There
of it.
isn't it? Takes some of the possibilities from making new friends and new friends as bring close understanding between grades and yourself and the points of passport. We all know how easy it is for a person to meet people with us along. Each of us is a roving diplomat for our country. So it is, yes. Okay, brings us to the first requirements in planning your trip abroad, the health requirements of the American dog going to Europe. Each country has its own particular requirements for entry. However, in general, most European countries are quite similar, except for Norway, Finland, Sweden, which have some quarantine as Britain. So all these countries are, of course, not suitable for dogs on holiday. All this information is available from the Federal Veterinarian's Office and from the appropriate embassy or consulate. Second major item in your travel arrangements, getting there. Do you fancy air travel or a leisurely cruise? If you are a small dog like yours truly and can fit into a travel case put under the seat for takeoff and landings, then air travel is most enjoyable. On several of the international air carriers, if your person is well behaved, even sit in his lap. In-cabin air travel is frequently considered simply overweight. Baggage for toilet purposes and payable as such. However, more and more air carriers are going to a flat rate. For you larger dogs who wish to travel by air, do you find a comfy dog carrier with room to stand, lie down, turn
It's a
around,
long time on one picture.
perhaps accompanied by your favorite blanket or toy. Well, what I'll do is I'll just cut some of this out. Alright, cut. I'll just see what's there. Prior to the crossing to jet setting, then you will want to know that the QE2 has excellent doll accommodations for the 5-day voyage, and after arriving in Southampton, one can immediately carry on to France by ferry, with no fear of serving a 6-month quarantine sentence. QE2 has a varying size of kennels. Cut. QE2 has varying sizes of kennels. I know that that word has become almost a no-no in our language, but I use it only for lack of a better one. The high outdoor dog terrace run is terrific and would be envied by many first-class passengers. There is a steward at your every beck and balk, and your person can come to visit when you wish. That is a switch, your person coming to you. Whether you travel by air or sea, let's now focus on our destination, Europe. We shall begin with France, since that is where my first memorable flight touched down. After a quick wave through passport control by the impressive uniformed gendarme with the warm smile, my owner and I made our way to baggage claim. Customs didn't even care to look at my doggy dish or favorite ball, so my owner whisked me outside to welcome my action. We'll need a more time. Customs didn't even care to look at my doggy dish or my favorite ball, so my owner whisked me outside to a welcome light pole. That at Charles de Gaulle Airport is lacking a grassy patch near the international arrival for us four-legged passengers, and the more you get to know the French, the more surprised you are. But if it's lacking, it's only because the French have not been made aware of the need for this average Joe chien upon arrival. The French love us. In most areas, the vie du chien, with things you can enjoy, the pleasures of perfect acceptance in the great restaurants of France. Cut. Whether on your person's lap, as in my case, or under the table, being served your own croquette de boeuf, with appropriate behavior you will have proving nods from all. Keen observation of the European dogs would be recommended, as their social graces, in most cases, are exceptional. This is the end of the paragraph, so... Okay, cut. If I were asked which country of Europe loves dogs most, I would be very hard-pressed to come up with a single answer. However, as much as the French love dogs and are famous for this wonderful quality in their characters now, I would have to say, my personal findings, put the Germanic countries on top of the list. Perhaps A for Austria in the lead. Cut. Although my Amsterdam arrival was greeted with such huge smile from the Dutch official as he said, "Welcome, Arizona dog," this revealing early in my stay how special dogs are to the Dutch. Cut. I guess the real answer to the question would be every country in its own special way. Cut. Action.
Now, can you push fade? 1.
With the American dollar enjoying excellent purchasing power in many countries throughout Europe, I decided to join the Exodus to the land of my forefathers. Well, not exactly to my recent forefathers, since they are English, and I'd have to do a term of 6 months in the quarantine pen before ever getting to step on British soil. So as much as I would love to have sampled English cuisine, run through Hyde Park, had an upstairs ride on those bright red buses, and maybe even a visit to the Queen and her corgis, the continent holds more than enough excitement for this Maltese. After months of travel, including the plane, the train, boat, car, and bus, through many countries, I decided that this sort of international travel might appeal to some fellow four-legged friends and their persons back home. Adventures in foreign lands with wonderful parks everywhere you turn, the gastronomical fun of trying international cuisine and typical regional dishes. All the countries have a choice of doggy dinners, canned and dry, that make your mouth water. European dogs take their owner for walks much more often than their American counterparts. The possibility for making new friends and thus bringing closer understanding between breeds is in itself an excellent reason for applying for a passport. And we all know how easy it is for our persons to meet people with us along. Each of us is a roving diplomat representing his country. Perhaps with our enthusiastic tail wags and our owner's sincere handshakes, we can bring more warmth to international friendships. That brings us to the first requirements in planning your trip to abroad. The health requirements for the American dog going to Europe. Each country has its particular requirement for entry. However, most European countries are quite similar, except for Norway, Finland, and Sweden, island nations, which have some quarantine, as does Britain. So these countries are, of course, not suitable for dogs on holiday. This information is available from the Federal Veterinarian's Office and from the appropriate embassy or consulate concerned. The second major item is your travel arrangements. Getting there. Do you fancy air travel or a leisurely cruise? If you are a small dog like yours truly and can fit into a travel case put under the seat for takeoff and landings, then air travel is most enjoyable. On several of the international air carriers, if your person is well behaved, you can even sit on his or her lap. If you prefer the crossing to jet sailing, then you will want to know that the QE2 has excellent dog accommodations for the 5-day voyage, and after arriving at Southampton, one can immediately carry on to France by ferry with no fear of serving a 6-month quarantine sentence. The high outdoor dog terrace is terrific and would be envied by many first-class passengers. There is a steward at your every beck and bark, and your person can come to visit whenever you wish. That is a switch, your person coming to you. We shall begin with Paris, France, since that is where my first memorable TW8 touched down. After a quick wave through passport control by the impressive uniformed gendarme with a warm smile, my owner and I made our way to baggage claim. Customs didn't even care to look at my doggy dish or favorite ball, so my owner whisked me outside to a welcome light pool. My friends, you can enjoy the pleasures of perfect acceptance in the great restaurants of France, whether on your person's lap, as in my case, or under the table, being served your own croquette de boeuf. With appropriate behavior, you will have approving nods from all. Keen observation of most European dogs would be recommended, as their social graces in most cases are exceptional. If I were asked which country of Europe loves dogs most, I would be very hard-pressed to come up with a single answer. However, as much as the French love dogs and are famous for this wonderful characteristic in their nature, I would have to say my personal findings put the Germanic countries on top of the list, perhaps A for Austria in the lead. However, my Amsterdam arrival was greeted with a huge smile from the Dutch official as he said, "Welcome, Arizona dog," revealing early in my stay how special dogs are to the Dutch. So, I suppose the answer to the question would be that every country, in its own special way, responds with smiles and warmth to us four-legged travelers. As usual, what better reward for us than bringing smiles to faces and happiness to hearts everywhere?
I'm talking Aqueduct, Santa Anita. 1 week.
Wow.
They have such an expense going, and all of this, the money that is poured out. If it doesn't come back in, you could bankrupt a track in 1 week by just not going and just not showing up. Any other questions?
Here's a question.
They'll have to pay the person, whether anybody comes or not.
Are the horses fed before or after the races?
Usually your trainers, and of course that changes with, some trainers do it one way, some do it another. Some of them give them a light feed early in the morning. And others will only give them a little bit of grain and no hay, and some are the other way around. And usually, though, they make it less. And usually after the race, they make it less also because the horse is stressed and they don't want him to get an intestinal upset. Surprisingly enough, that's usually the way that a horse knows it's race day, that he is going to race, is he learns that when they tie that hay up and take it out of his way and he doesn't have the feed, and then he starts pacing his stall because he knows he's going to get to go out and race. I've seen it happen when
Age for horses, and what do you feel is raced?
my favorite tone at that answer, so I will keep it short and sweet. We have, by pure greed, really gone against the nature of horses. A horse is not fully mature until he's 6 years old. His bones are not mature. He gets his last back teeth in when he's 5, but they're only hollow. They don't fill in until he's 6. And by gradually raising the purses for younger and younger horses, I mean, we've got oodles and gobs of $100,000 races plus for 2-year-olds. We have got them down to where we're racing to 2 years of age. And I have seen x-rays of these babies that are raced in the spring, and their knees haven't even closed yet. And they are racing them on hard dirt surfaces with top weight, going at top speeds. And is it any wonder when you traumatize those immature bones that you traumatize them at age 2 that they have got to be medicated and drugged in order to finish racing at age 3? Now, most states, now we're one of the few that do not allow a couple of the basic drugs that are used to keep racehorses going. But until we solve the problem of racing young horses, we are continually going to have broken down horses and sore horses. There is no such thing as a sound racehorse. They're all sore. And the only way to fix the problem, you can't go along with an axe and say, no 2-year-old racing, the whole industry would collapse. But you can reverse the process, and that is gradually raise the purses for older horses. A good example would be Turf Paradise should have a race for 2-year-olds, a $100,000 race for 2-year-olds in December, okay, just before they turn 3. But the conditions of the race read, no horse that raced before May is eligible to run. So what you're doing is tempting those owners to keep those babies back on the farm just a few months more, you know, just give them a little bit longer and a little bit better chance to mature, and then gradually weed it out so you have no 2-year-old racing. You make the Triple Crown for 4-year-olds and up, and then you will find that you're going to see horses that will stay consistently running true to form.
Well, isn't there anybody?
Does not necessarily reflect the views of the staff or management of United Cable of Scottsdale Limited.
minutes of post time. They're approaching the gate. They are at the post. Now they're moving into the gate. They're off and running. Now as they go away from the gate, taking on, it goes up there, take the lead of about a length. On the outside is the Great Dome moving along in second place, going up along the inside. Destiny's Turn goes through fast. Then away on the outside is Langley Flyer, followed along by English Soul with Bunny Bride, Tom Broke, and the last was Outrigger. Now they move on down the back stretch. They're going to run there in front by about 3/4 of a length. Destiny's Turn.
I want to thank all of you for being here during our first session as well as this one. It's nice to see you all here. Now first, let me give you a short refresher on what we discussed last time. I explained to you what a handicapper was, and that the handicapper, by using the past performances in the racing form, attempts to pick the winner of a horse race. Now while you are doing this, you must weed out the playable and the unplayable races. Let me remind you, an unplayable race is one that there is too many questions that are unanswered, there's too much mystery and guesswork, and you just, out you go. You just do not pay any attention to it, and you concentrate on those races remaining that are playable. Now, once you have made your choices from the playable races, you next have another obstacle to overcome. You must weave your way between the landmines of betting boo-boos, and there are lots of them out there, and they can wreck all of your hard planning work at home with the racing form if you do some of these betting boo-boos. The key word in betting, you got 3 key words: caution, concentration, and conservative betting. Just remember those 3 C's, and you might be able to wave your way through these landmines. Okay, now let's get on with it, what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over how to understand what is in the program. This is a program. This is the daily program that you buy at the track when you go in the gates. We are also going to talk about what the odds mean. We are going to discuss the tote bar and what it means. And we will go over some of the basic mechanics of just plain betting. Please try and save your questions until I've gotten all over this, and just sort of store them back here in the back of your mind, and we'll have time to be able to go into it then. Before we get into all this, let me describe to you what you will find at Turf Paradise. That's our local racetrack, and as a matter of fact, it's the only horse racetrack in the area. Turf Paradise is a very pretty track. It's one of the prettiest that I've been to in all of my travels. As you walk into the main gates, it is got an interesting separation. The peons are to the left in the grandstands, and the fancy stuff is over here to the right, the clubhouse and the turf club. Your prices when you go into the gate will be anywhere from $2.50 for the to get into the grandstands, up to $7 or more or higher for the turf club. If you plan to, usually people plan on spending lunch there, and at the left-hand side with the common folk, you can get things like hot dogs and hamburgers and Coke and beer and booze. There's a bar on all 3 levels at each end. Sandwiches will run you $4.50, and they're good. There's pizza, Mexican food, popcorn, ice cream, just about anything that you want to know. Now, when you first go in the main gates down on the bottom floor, and if you go directly to the left, there's a nice little gift shop there. You can get belt buckles and caps and jackets and T-shirts, and you can also get patches. Now, I am making a little collection of patches for my jacket here, and all of these came from different racetracks that I've been with, and Turf Paradise patches up here. You can always pick up one of those and start your own collection. Now, as far as the rest of the information that you need to know, the restrooms, like the bars, are on each end of each floor. In your grandstand on the left-hand side of the track, you can go up the escalator. You don't have to climb stairs. Now, when you go to the right in the grandstand level, that's underneath and it's covered and it's protected behind glass. So if it's bad weather, you might want to go in there. But if you want to get up to the freebies, then you go down a little bit and you go up another escalator and you're up on the 3rd floor, and everything back up here on the top is all for free. And the ones that are up on the same level but down here in the front, they're reserved grandstands, and they're nice. It's a nice place because you get the breezes and you've got this beautiful view of the whole track, and you would enjoy it. The one thing that you might want to watch out for is the late afternoon sun can get uncomfortable on warm days. But they have these great big posts that are holding up the roof. And if you go down and you look at the number of the chair that is just this side of the post, just the east side of the post, see, when the sun's going down, the post will have you sitting in shade, and everybody else will be sitting there, and you'll be. Okay, now, let's see. The clubhouse is to the right on the second floor. Now, you'll need reservations for the clubhouse, and you call 942-1101 and ask them for clubhouse reservations. The clubhouse is very nice. This is where my table is. It is inside. It is directly over the paddock, and at my table all you have to do is look like this, and the horses are right there in front of you being saddled. You don't have to get up and move anywhere. You're close to the finish line. You can see anything and everything that you want to see. At the clubhouse you've got waitresses and tables and chairs. Your food is very good. Your average cost for a lunch or a good meal is about $5, and it's lots of food, lots and lots of food, and you will enjoy it. You can get everything from big fat sandwiches to steaks. You can get salads to prime ribs. Now, above the clubhouse on the next floor is where the upper crust hang out. That's the turf club, and that requires a dress code, and you must go in the ladies in heels and hose and a nice dress, and the men must be in a tie, and you must behave yourself. It is more expensive, and the food is fancier. Personally, I don't care for it because it sits too high up for me to be able to see the horses properly. The angle is too steep, and all you can see is the tops of the backs of the horses. I like to be able to get a sidelong view of a horse and judging the way I used to in the horse shows. If you have any questions or you get lost, you can ask any of the tellers at the betting windows, any waitress, any guard, anybody that even remotely looks like they know what they're doing at the track. They are all very cooperative and very nice. Surprisingly enough, not all tracks are like this. I have been to some of the tracks back east that the people are just downright rude. So enjoy this track. It is a very good one. Now, let's get on with the goodies. Let us take a look at your program. Okay, let's turn to the first couple of pages as advertisements and this sort of thing, and you don't need it, but get to where it says the first race. Now, for you out there, we have a camera focusing on the first race, and I am going to describe with my audience, and I'm simply going to go right down the list of what's on that camera. I mean, on that first race. You have, it says the first half of the daily double. You have little blank boxes say win, place, and show. That's for writing in the prices of who wins and the payoffs. And it says first race, and then there's a little map drawn of the race oval, and it shows you where, the arrow shows you where it starts and where it ends. That's your 6 furlong race. That's the distance of the race. The type of race, it says maiden claiming. The purse is $2,500. It's for 2-year-old maidens. Your average weight is 118 pounds. The claiming price is $6,500. Now, the next line says your track record was set by Petro DJ, a 6-year-old, on May 9th, 1982, and the time was 1:07 1/5, packing 120 pounds. Your next one, it says, and please remember what this says, ask for horse by program number. Don't walk up to the teller and say, I want to bet Willie Lump Lump in the 9th race, because they don't work that way and they might get a little annoyed with you. Go by number of the horse, okay? All right, so your first line is broken down into color, owner, and trainer. Now, Turf Paradise is very interesting with their colors. It makes it very easy to watch the races. The colors never change. Now, the number 1 post position is red. That means that the jockey's silks, okay, are red, solid red. And the blanket that is underneath the saddle is solid red. Your number 2 jockey is white silks and white blanket. Your number 3 is blue. Your number 4 is gold and white. Your 5th is green and red. Your 6th is orange and black. Your 7th is yellow and black. Your 8th is brown and white. 9th is red and white. And this makes it very easy if you are looking out there and you don't have binoculars and all you see is a little knot of horses running around the track and these colors everywhere, and you can't see well enough to see what the numbers are on the numbers are not that big on the blankets. And so all you got to do is, if you're bet on the number 2 horse, watch the guy in a white jacket, okay? And he's the one that is riding your number 2 horse. Your owner on your number 1 horse here is Darren Howell from Phoenix, Arizona. You go across to the right under trainer, and it says the owner is the trainer. So your owner and your trainer is the same person, Darren Howell. Now your next column is your jockey and morning line. That number 12 up there on the right is the morning line odds that the odds start with. That's 12-1 for him, and the jockey's name is Cliff Thompson. This horse, all right, is Harry Randall from Enterprise, Utah. Keep going right to where the trainer is. It's Elijah Moore. William Trevino is the jockey. He's going off at 4-1. He's going to be packing 115 pounds. Back to the left, the horse's name is Real Doll. It is B.R. Brown. F means filly, two-year-old. The sire was Encore Real out of a mare named Doll Rosa. Now, number 3, the jockey's colors are blue. The owner is William Kilnakis and Tony Kilnakis of Bradbury Hills, California, and the trainer is Tony Kilnakis. The jockey is Pat Steinberg. The odds are 8-1. Pat Steinberg is going to be packing 115 pounds. The horse's name is BB Begonia. It is a brown filly, 2-year-old. Sire is Finger Paints. Dam is Why Worry Ever. And you just go all the way down the line reading the same thing over and over and over again. Now let's jump down to the bottom one, number 9. Those colors are red and white. That's what the jockey will be having on his silks. Owner is Bill Luke from Phoenix, Arizona. Trainer is Danny Hunsaker. Jockey is Don Symington. The odds are 8-1. Don Symington will be carrying 118 pounds. The horse's name is Little in Trim. The star by the right of Little in Trim means that the horse was bred in Arizona. It is a bay. G stands for gelding. 2-year-old. Sire is Believe a Little, and Dam is Trim and Slim. And if there is any additional information that you will not see in the racing form, it will below all of these, and there is just one. I don't know if the cameras can pick it up. And it's small letters. It simply states the latest workout on Real Doll, and Real Doll is the number 2 horse, was on 9/29/85 at Turf Paradise, and it gives you the time of the workout. Now that is how each one goes. If you will look at the second race, you will see that it is very similar to it. It is the second half of the Daily Double. It gives you the boxes for win, place, and show. It tells you the distance, which at this time is 5.5 furlongs. It tells you the type of race. Gives you the track record. It says ask for a horse by program number, and it starts all over again. The number 1 color is red and reads it out. And this is the way that you read your daily program. If there are any changes, the announcer will give them to you before the races. Most of the time, the most common changes are in overweights. Now, for example, in the first race, let's say Clifford Thompson, who's riding the number 1 horse, Sparkling Affair, had a candy bar last night, and he cannot meet 118 pounds, and he can only make 119 pounds. So the announcer will say overweights on the number 1, in the first race, number 1, Cliff Thompson's 1 pound overweight. And those are the most common changes that you will see and you will have to write them down on your program. Let us go from there to look at the third race. Down on the bottom of the third race, it says what the odds mean. Now, one of the cameras should be on column 1 of our little drawing here that says what the odds mean. This is based on a $2 wager. Now, in your first column, if the odds are 1-9, it means you always get, when you pay $2, you always get your money back plus some. And the lower the odds, the less you get back besides your $2 back. So if you bet $2 on a horse that went off at 1-9 odds, you get $2.20 back. Well, that's not very much. The next one is 1-5. That pays $2.40. Then 2-5 pays $2.80. 3-5 pays $3.20. 4-5 pays $3.60. 1-1, which is even money, pays $4. That means for every dollar you bet, you get $1 back. So you get your $2 back and you get another $2. Now on column 2, which begins by saying 6-5, that pays $4.40. 7-5 pays $4.80. 3-2 pays $5. 8-5 pays $5.20. 9-5, $5.60. 2-1 pays $6. Now on column 3, 5 to 2 pays $7, 3 to 1 pays $8, 7 to 2, $9, 4 to 1, $10, 9 to 2 pays $11, and 5 to 1 pays $12. Now after that, it is just simple mathematics. At 6 to 1, you will get 6 plus 6 is 12 plus your $2 back, so you get $14. And it always adds that way. Whatever that, if it's 7 to 1, then it's 7 doubled, 14 plus your $2 back, $15, $16 is the payoff. But when they get down lower and lower and lower, and you get into these 1 to 9s and 1 to 5s, you can do what a lot of the professionals do, and you can have them memorized so you can just zip them off, and you can be like me, and you don't care, and you don't want to memorize them because the payoff is too low for you to bother with to begin with. I say that anything that is less than even money, 1 to 1, you are wagering dollars to earn dimes, and that's financial insanity. Pass the race and just sit and watch the horses run around the track. And wait for a bet where you can at least get your money out of it. However, there are people out there by the scores who would disagree with me. Well, more power to you. What we need to go into also is the tote board. Now, we tried to get a picture of it and have it enlarged so that we could have a camera on it and you could see what the tote board is, but the lab messed us up, so I'm going to have to describe it. The tote board, well, when you walk out in the track and you sit in your seat, no matter where it is, and you look in the infield, you have to be blind or smashed or both not to miss the tote board. It is this great big contraption that sits out there, and it's got all these lights and the electronical stuff on it, and it tells you the odds and how they change. And the major part of the tote board is where the permanent numbers, 1 through 12, are located. And in your starting gates, all they can fit in is 12 horses in the starting gate, okay? And the tote board can only fit 12 horses on that number. So you have those 1 to 12 numbers, and you have big black boxes underneath them. And they change and light up with these different odds, 9 to 2, 11 to 1, and so forth, as the odds change and people are betting on the race. One key thing you have to look at when you see the permanent number 1 and you look directly underneath it and you see the odds and it says 9, 2, okay? Now, the question is that 92 to 1 or is that 9 to 2? And the difference is, if there is a little light blinking between the 9 and the 2, that means it's 9 to 2. If there is no little light blinking, it means 92 to 1, and that means a big difference in the payoff. Now, 9 to 2, let's see if you can remember, 9 to 2, you bet $2 and you get back $9 plus your 2. So the payoff would be $11. All right? Below your odds that change under these permanent 1 through 12 numbers, you have the totals, your win, place, and show pools. And those numbers, and they just tell you how much money has been bet to win on each horse. And they change. I think they flip every 60 to 90 seconds, and they change. And then, of course, as more people are feeding money in, the higher those total pools go. And it gives you an idea of who is dumping the most money on what horse and where, whether it's in win, place, or show. Now, to the left of your win, place, and show board is your daily double possibilities. And after the first race, your daily double, remember, you bet the winner of the first race and the winner of the second race. And so after the first race is run, and you know who the winners of the first race are, it will say, let's say number 5 won the first race. So it'll say, now 5 and 1, meaning 5 in the first race. If 1 wins in the second race, will pay, and it'll give you the payoff. And it'll go 5 and 2, will pay, and then give you that payoff, or the number 2 horse wins. 5 and 3, all the way down the line. That's what your daily double board will do. All right, now just to the right, and in between your daily double board and your odds board, where the permanent numbers are, you have your total pools that I told you about. Now these are not only the totals of what's bet on each horses, these are the totals of all the win pools. Everybody's bet win on all the horses in the race, place all the horses in the race, show all the horses in the race. So you can not only tell it individually by horse who's putting the money where, but you can tell the grand total of where the money is going. Just to the right of that, you have your, and it'll just say there in big letters, time of day. It'll tell you what the time of day is, the post time for the next race, and how many minutes are left to the post in case you are trying to decide, Do I have time to go make a bet before I go to the little girl's room, or do I do it the other way around so I make sure I get the bet? So that's always a good thing to remember, is minutes to post and see how many it is. Now on the right of the odds is the payoff board, and this will say win, place, and show, and there will be 3 places for the win payoffs, win, place, show, and then your place horse, he has 2 payoffs, and your show horse, and he has only 1 payoff over here. And to the right of that, see, I told you, you can't miss the tote board unless you smashed. That is your Cornelli and your Exacta payoff boards. And these are exotic bets, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And that will tell you how they pay off. And to the far right, ta-da, we come to the end. It tells you the fractional times, and it's usually broken down in quarters. The first quarter was run in 36 seconds. The next quarter was run in so many, and they go from the bottom up, with the final time up on the top. Okay, now we've gone through what the odds mean. We've gone through the tote board. Okay, now let us do a little bit of the basic betting. We're going to have to wind this up. Basic betting of when you want to go up to the window. You've really made up your mind, and you like the odds. They're not less than even money, and you're ready to, boy, here it comes. This is it. You know, are you going to peel out that $2, or how much are you going to bet? So you walk up to the window, and the gal is sitting there, and she's ready to punch out your business. What are you going to tell her? Well, you had to have decided if you want to bet the horse to win, or you want to bet the horse to place, that means come in second, or you want to bet the horse to show, that means comes in third. And if you really like the horse, you do is you walk up and you say, I want him across the board, meaning you win, place, and show. You're going to pick up all 3 of those payoffs. You're just that sure of it, okay? But let's say you want to get a little cautious. You don't want to bet $6, because you'd have to bet $2 for a win, 2 for place, 2 for show. So let's say you just want to be a little cautious. You're going to bet $4, win and place. He may have bad racing luck and come in second. So if you go up to the window and you want to, let's say you want to bet on number 5, you walk up and you say, $2 to win and place on number 5. And she'll punch out a ticket, and she'll hand, and there'll be a little light on the computer, and it'll say pay $4, and you plunk your $4 down, and you take your ticket and check your ticket and make sure she punched out the right number horse. Always check that before you leave. And then you have got your bet. And then when the bell rings and the races are off, it's up to Lady Luck and just how smart you were in figuring it out, and whether you avoided the bad boo-boos and you did your handicapping. So why don't we have a few questions and see if you understand all this stuff that I just dumped all over you.
I'd like to start out with a question.
Certainly.
Right at the beginning. How do they figure out which horses are running in which races? And who gets number 1, number 2, number 3? For example, in the first race here, Begonia is number 3. How did Begonia get to be number 3?
2 questions. All right. The first one is how do they know which horses are going to run in which race? The races are broken down into conditions. Now, as I read you some of those, the conditions on the first race. The first race is for 2-year-olds, and it's a maiden claiming, which means only 2-year-old horses can run in this race. And they have to be horses. A maiden is a horse that has not won a race before. Oh. Okay? And it's not only that, but it is a maiden claiming, which means that the use is really that fast, and somebody else may buy that horse out. Literally, it's called a claim, but they could buy that horse away from you. But you want the horse to have a chance to win the race. So you put him in with this lower class of group, but you may have a chance to lose. So that really narrows down what type of horses can enter it. Now, there may be 20 horses that are entered in the thing, all right? And, well, you can't race 20 horses in a race, usually. So what they do is they have this little ping pong deal, and they run it around, and each of the trainers who have entered their horse will come up and they'll pick out a number out of this little tumbly basket, and if they happen to draw one of the posts that they can fill, then they get it. And if he happens to get the ping pong that says number 1, that's why Sparkling Fair ran number 1. And if you get number 2, then that's your real doll, and that's how come they get in the different post positions. There is no bribery, there's no skullduggery, no shenanigans that are allowed. It is just simply they dump all these ping pongs in and they go like this and you grab and whatever you get, that's it. And your conditions can read from anywhere from your 2-year-old maiden claiming, which is pretty far down there, to $2.5 million stakes like your Breeders' Cup is going to be, where your big race is going to be, the purse is going to be well over $2 million. And lots of horses would like to run in that one, but very few are good enough to run in it and have a chance of winning.
You mentioned race 1 that the purse of $2,500 and the claiming price of $6,500. What are those, Bonnie? What
All
does
right.
it mean?
Okay. Well, now, if you win the race, you get 60% of the purse. So you would get 60% of $2,500, which isn't a whole heck of a lot. Now, the difference between claiming races and other types of races, the idea is to try and make things a little bit more even. If you had a horse like Secretariat, and you could enter him in any race you wanted to, obviously there isn't going to be anything out there that's going to beat him, and you can just pick up one purse after another, after another, after another. And you can just sit there and just scrape in all the loot, and none of the other poor little guys has a chance to win. Yeah. Now, a claiming race means that any person that is qualified by the state's racing commission can enter a claim on your horse before the race. Now, this price for this type of horse, they put it $6,500. So the guy writes out a little check and he sticks it in a claiming box. It's a little more complicated. They fill out a form. And he's got the money, and as soon as that bell rings and those horses are out that gate, whoever has claimed him, it's his. Now, the horse can drop dead in the middle of the track. He can fall down and break a leg. It doesn't matter. You claimed that horse, and you got him. Now, if the horse wins the race, the previous owner keeps the purse. But the new owner, after the race and the jockey's off and the saddles are off, he gets taken over to where the paddock is, and they change halters, and he gets led back to his new owner's barn. Now, this keeps the super good horses now from messing around with the little guys, and it gives the chance. Now, we have claiming races anywhere from the lowest we have now is $2,500, and we're up to I think we've got a couple of 50,000. No, I don't know whether it's 50. It's at 30,000 maybe. A couple of big ones. And from there you get into what's called allowance races. And nobody can claim anything out of an allowance race. And an allowance race is conditions by the track. Let's say something like for 4-year-olds and up, who have not, horses that have not run a race in 5 months, wait. That's where it comes from. And that's much more of a free-for-all. They won't even allow him to race. There are some where some of your big races...
The silks, the colors that you were describing on each race. Does not a stable tell what they're, do not they have a color that's of their own stable as opposed to what's demanded on that particular race?
Yes, they do. Each stable, when they are registered for a state, has their own stable colors.
Yes. Now, do they not race under those?
They can. And if you go to the big tracks, Santa Anita and Belmont and Aqueduct, you will see them racing under those colors. But I think it's really neat that this track is small enough and that they race under these, you know, they all stay the same, these colors.
Yes.
For race to race to race, because it's so much easier to follow. And otherwise, you may have 12 horses in the race, and you've got 12 jockeys wearing all these wild combinations of colors, and
yes.
it's much more difficult to follow. And I like the fact that, well, whoever is out there running in red that's the number 1 horse, and who's in white is number 2 horse, and who's in blue is the number 3 horse. It's so much simpler to follow.
Well, this is the first time I've been able to understand that. It always occurred to me that I should ask someone, and I finally was able to do so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bonnie, I was working in New York City several years ago, and I recall that a horse that won a race at Belmont Park was disqualified because its urine that was tested after the race showed that it had caffeine, which stimulated the horse. I enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning, or more than one, and I was just wondered how much coffee, how many cups of coffee would you give a horse before it was stimulated to perform beyond its normal racing skill? Do you have any idea?
Oh yes, oh yes. Well, let's put it this way. If it was a 2-year-old lightly raced filly, maybe she was kind of a little thin and not much weight. One cup of coffee. If it was a 4-year-old male horse that had been racing for a while, 2 cups, and it'll test positive in the urine. Now, may I ask you, what is happening to your body? You certainly do not weigh 1,000 pounds. What is happening to your insides when you have 9 cups of coffee all day long? No wonder you go to bed and you're like this, you know.
But a horse doesn't, with that small amount of caffeine.
That's right. That's small.
If we look at these charts here, and this, I would like to talk about the jockeys. The weights, 118, 110, 115, 120 on the second race here. What is the normal weight for a jockey that's going to be a winner?
If you will look under the conditions of the second race, it says a purse of $2,600. It looks like, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to finish this question or not. I think we might be getting close to the end. I think that's what I'm getting. It's in the conditions. If it's a 4-year-old horse, he runs under 120 pounds. If it's a 3-year-old horse, he runs under 117 pounds.
Let's see. Okay.
So you have 2 types of weights that are being ridden. And it looks like we're getting very close to the end. And I do want to thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Mwandikeni utafanya kesi, sababu unatakiwa moja na gari imefunikwa hivi kama hii na hiyo mrefu. Najua hapa ni kurukia nini kwa msituni, na ingine ukishuka muone utaona anaruka juu ya mtu. See how it's moving?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worthless.
See the boss behind?
Yeah. Fort Horrocks, seafood, toe pieces. Cliff Hatley there.
He's going back after the other two. And here he comes.
Jason and Mary.
Ralph,
Right.
behind where the girl is sitting is the rest of my case there. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
Margaret could hand it to me. Quite a hand, man.
You see the other buck trying to muscle in.
Aren't his horns beautiful?